Whew. As always, if you see me posting a video in late January or early February and my Christmas tree is still up, no, you didn't. Just mind your business. Well, hey there, my Candlemas cuties, my Imbolc imps, and all the other witches and pagans of YouTube. It's me, your boy Shane, and welcome back to the channel, as the case may be. Today I wanted to talk about the Wheel of the Year and the fact that I'm having a really hard time kind of moving on from Yule. Not so much moving on from Yule as I am moving into Imbolc. And that's kind of ironic because Imbolc is my favorite Sabbat of the entire year. I love Imbolc. I've probably made a handful of videos about Imbolc and then never actually get around to making videos about any of the other Sabbats because I love it so much. And there's just something different about this year. And, part of it is, I suffer deeply from executive dysfunction. But part of it is I'm just not ready to go marching headfirst into this year with all of the challenges that I know are coming my way, right? Everything that is laid ahead of me in 2023. But magically, spiritually, energetically, I understand that I have to. And the nature of the Wheel of the Year being what it is necessitates that. So what do I mean by that, right? I had a coven meeting last Friday, and one of my newer initiates said to me, because this was his first Imbolc with the coven, he was like, all right, what's this holiday all about? What do I need to know? What are we celebrating? What's the energy? What are, all great questions. And so we talked about, Imbolc or February Eve or Feast of Torches or whatever the hell you want to call it. We talked about it, in the overarching Gardnerian mythos and in the overarching natural cycle of living in a temperate climate zone right here in metropolitan New York. And we also talked about it energetically in terms of what I love about Imbolc, what I love about the Feast of Purification, is partly about cleaning out that stagnation of winter, right? So, I told him about how, we tend to spend our January exhausted, resting, recovering. I just made a whole video about this a couple weeks ago, right, where I talked about the idea of sacred inactivity as a natural part of the Wheel of the Year, where we kind of hit that lull before everything ramps up again. And, in January, we ate too much over the holidays and we're all full of sugar and salt and we're just feeling blah, not really the energy of the earth is kind of at a lull, and we drank too much over the holidays for those of us that imbibe, and our liver is freaking detoxing, and we did a lot of running around and cooking and cleaning and shopping, and we're just tired. It's cold outside, it's wet, it's disgusting, icy, snowy, rainy, freezing, we're not feeling it, and we spend a lot of January, kind of feeling like a slug, laying on the couch, watching TV. All of that's fine, not a value judgment if you do that. I do it. And Imbolc is that breath of fresh air, right? Where it's okay, we're done with that, it is time to go forward. And like I said, usually, I love that. I love, to me, I almost look at it as a new year, right? A new start. And I love making plans, making bullet journals, making goals, making lists. I'm such a Virgo. I love cleansing my home, cleansing my altar, my ritual space, my ritual tools. I open every window in the house and I let the cold air sweep through, and I ring bells and I sweep and I mop. And I have a number of rituals that are really personal and specific to me. I cleanse and reconsecrate my my artist tools, my paintbrushes and my X-Acto knife and my micron pens and what have you. So I love that that new start, new wheel, new me, or whatever. I love that time of year. Except this year, like I said, I'm really having trouble getting going. And I know part of it is school is so exhausting. In my first video of 2023, I talked about how 2022 just wiped me out in terms of nursing school being very rewarding, but also a lot more challenging than I had anticipated, and also about both of my parents being sick with terminal cancer. And so now that I've had a little bit of a rest, now that I've had a little bit let's call it what it is, indulgence, right? Laying on the couch and eating junk food and whatever. Now that I've had a taste of that, I don't want to go back to hustling and bustling and studying 8 hours a day and running myself ragged. I just don't. But it's time. It's time. The wheel of the year is, it's a battery that powers everything, propels everything forward. And we have to honor that for what it is, not what we want it to be. It's time, and I'm looking around my apartment and, the semester started, and until yesterday, I didn't have my office set up yet with this semester's books and this semester's calendar and this semester's assignments. I set all of that up last night, but until then, and classes started last week, but until then, I didn't have that set up and ready to go in my space. My Christmas or Yule or whatever, my midwinter celebration decorations are still up. Actually, I think you can see I've got like Santas and snowmen and trees and like a little snow-covered house or church, whatever the fuck that is, right? My tree is still up. I still have this red and green plaid tablecloth on the table. Like, I gotta get it together because, what's the expression? Time and tide wait for no man, right? Whether I get my act together or not, Imbolc is coming, spring is coming, exams are coming, my parents' appointments are coming, whether I like that fact or not. And this brings up a really interesting, I swear to God, I did not choose this mug on purpose today with all this like poinsettias or whatever's going on. I just grabbed whatever one was closest and the appropriate size this morning. I promise you. But it kind of raises an interesting debate or discussion about the circle as a liminal space, right? A circle as a time outside of time and a place outside of place, because that's what we're taught. Most of us in pagan culture and traditions are taught to view the magical circle as that world between worlds. So I've heard a lot of people say, and I've read in a lot of books over the years, that you can cast a circle and declare it to be any time at all or none, right? And I love magical theory. I could debate magical theory all day long, but I don't know. That's a tricky one for me. That's a little bit of a stickler for me because I love that in theory. In theory, I think that's great that you can cast a circle and declare it to be last Tuesday. But can you? If you are casting a circle and declaring it to be last Tuesday, and your uncle got his car broken into on Thursday, right? You cannot cast a circle and do magic to prevent that from happening. It already happened, right? Sure, in as much as linear time might be a man-made, manufactured invention, it is still the way that our brains process events. And so there are limitations on what magic can do. And that's a drum that I beat often, right? But there are limitations on what magic can do. You can't cast a circle and declare it to be 2018 and head off the coronavirus pandemic of 2019 and 2020. You just can't, right? Similarly, I agree to an extent with the idea of people who are like, oh, it's okay that you missed the Sabbat because the circle is not a real place and it's not a real time, and you can cast that circle and say, it's Yule or it's Imbolc or it's summer solstice or whatever. I jive with that to a point. Again, there are limitations. So for me personally, my rule of thumb is I will celebrate. I think it's better to celebrate a Sabbat late than not at all. But the expiration date for that policy is the next Sabbat. So if I missed spring equinox, anytime before Beltane is fair game, right? Let's say I couldn't celebrate it on the equinox itself, or the weekend before or the weekend after, which, let's be honest, is when the majority of us get around to actually doing the thing. Because of work and family and other obligations and responsibilities, I think very few of us actually, get together or perform our solitary rites on the day of the equinox or the solstice or the cross-quarter day itself. Hey, props to you if you do. So I didn't get to do, my vernal equinox rites, around the proper time. But hey, what if, in April I cast a circle and I declare it to be the spring equinox? I think that's legit still. But I think once you passed May 1st, right, once you encroach into Beltane season, I don't know if that flies anymore. Because it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. Again, what's to stop you from casting a circle and declaring it to be the year 2015 or the year 2035 or, yesterday or I don't know. I think there's a cognitive dissonance there that, you could cast a circle and say whatever the hell you like, but I think somewhere in the back of your mind, you're going to know that it's December. It's not the fucking summer solstice. I mean, unless you live in the southern hemisphere, of course, right? But I am speaking as a person who is in the northern hemisphere. You could cast a circle in October, right? And say it's the summer solstice. It doesn't make it so. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you're going to know that it isn't so. And it's going to interfere with what you are doing. Energetically, spiritually, magically. Your deep mind is going to be working against you in that moment. And that's why I think, if we have the Sabbath cycle, if we have the Wheel of the Year, and you know what it looks like a circle divided into 8 even pie slices, right? Like a pizza pie, or a wheel with spokes. If you've got 8 even segments, I think each one of those segments has its own unique energy to it. Based on what your body wants to do, what the earth is doing, what's floating around and flying around in the collective unconscious, right? And I think once you pass over into the next chunk, I think that window of opportunity is lost. So yeah, I think there are limitations, and I think to not honor those limitations on magic is lazy. Yeah, I said it. Because like I said, I get it. I suffer from terrible executive dysfunction. I've struggled with mental health and anxiety and depression and such my entire life. But I think it's good. Well, I won't speak for everyone. One of the tools that I have found for myself is that's helpful is, yes, forgiveness and grace and compassion, right? You must extend yourself that little bit of leeway of, you can't beat yourself up if you don't celebrate the spring equinox on the date of the equinox. Give yourself that window, that grace period, if you need it, to celebrate it before Beltane. But I think after Beltane, come on. Because like I said, slippery slope, then what happens, in terms of, you could not celebrate all 7 or all 8 of the Sabbats, and then turn around and just do them all in one night and be like, there you go, I did it. For what purpose then? Why are you even doing it at that point? So yeah, the circle, sure, it's a time outside of a time and a place outside of a place, but also it's not. We as witches, we live with, 1 foot in the mundane, practical workaday world and 1 foot in this mysterious other world. We, we have our feet firmly planted on the ground and also our head in the clouds. We occupy that space. We live in that world that's steeped in that power and that beauty, but we also, live here and now. And that's okay. There's something beautiful about that. There's something powerful and important about that, and that's you know, the mundane world is no less or less magical or less valid or less valuable than the spiritual world. It just is. And part of our work as witches is we must attune ourselves with the natural cycle and not work against them. So again, if you're casting a circle in September and you're saying, yeah, it's Imbolc, I can totally do that because, like, time's not real, you're not attuning yourself to the natural cycles. And it's really important that we do that because we are so disconnected from the natural cycles in a lot of ways, right? We've got the blue lights from all of our devices fucking up our circadian rhythms, and we buy our food, our meat, you know, shrink wrapped at the grocery store in nice sanitary plastic and styrofoam containers that do not at all resemble the animals from whence it came. We don't, you know, plant our own crops, most of us. I'm a soft city bred bitch. I'm, you know, as always, speaking for me and people like me and my friends and whatever. So I think it's important that, because we have so many things about the modern world that don't bring us back in line with the natural cycles and the natural occurrences and nature itself, it's important that some of them we are consciously choosing. We are consciously choosing to align ourselves back with those cycles. And I think celebrating the Wheel of the Year as written, you know, celebrating the Wheel of the Year as calendared is an important part of doing that. Yeah. And honestly, I've also been taught over the years, I've been passed a bit of witch lore that also performing the Sabbat rituals is our job as witches. It is our obligation as, you know, a priesthood or a priestesshood or, you know, in the service to the goddess and God, that it is our job to turn the wheel. It's our job to do the Sabbat rituals so that the changes in the natural world happen. And although I may not believe that, whatever that word means, right? I think, number one, I think that's beautiful. And I think that's, you know, a beautiful bit of allegory. But also, I believe it on the level of, and my friend Jack always, I know he hates psychologizing of the Sabbats, but I always find it helpful. Because it's honestly, I'm doing the work of turning the wheel, and in turn, the wheel is helping do the work of turn me, right? So I may not be 100% into performing my Imbolc rites this week. I might be like, I don't feel like it, I don't want to, I got 100 other things to do, I'm not ready to let go of, like, the warm fuzzy feels of Yule, or whatever the hell. But I'm gonna do it because it's my job, because this is what I signed up to do when I got initiated. I'm gonna do it. And in turn, I have the faith, I have the belief that that ritual will also work on me. I'm not just working a ritual on the earth. The earth, you know, that ritual is also working on me. And with the coming days and with the growing light, with everything returning, I am going to get more motivated. I am going to start working faster. I am going to start becoming more goal-oriented. I'm going to feel better about chasing those things and getting the blood moving and progressing forward and charging ahead in the year. And that's how I think I turn the wheel. And then again, and then the wheel turns me, right? It's a totally a symbiotic thing. And that's another reason why, in my personal Imbolc celebrations, a part of my personal ritual is burning a bit of the greens left over from Yule. You know, it's a way to say that, like, this is done and it's fueling the year forward, and, you know, just we're closing that chapter. And I know I'm not the only one that does that. I'm sure I read that for the first time in one or more than one, like, Llewellyn Genera Pagan books over the years. But I love that. That custom always spoke to me. That always seemed like a very appropriate thing to do. Like, yes, once this is over, we burn it. There you go. So yeah, on to Imbolc. It is my favorite. I will kick myself in the ass and I will get her done. And, you know, because it's ultimately, it's beneficial. It is. So those are my thoughts on the Sabbats and, you know, the whole notion of like, oh, time inside the circle is actually outside of time and space. But if you have different thoughts about the circle being in that liminal zone, and if you have, if you want to share the ways in which you will be celebrating Imbolc this week, I would love to hear that. Leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, etc., etc., etc. And yeah, until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. I have 48 hours to take all of this down, don't I?